Okay, class, let's just get back to our tutorial. Okay, now, I'm not sure why am I still receiving message like, do we do it individually or as in a group? Because as I have mentioned earlier, since the start of the lesson, that this is a tutorial session and you will be break into groups to discuss. Okay, we were given 1 hour, so just now at 10, when I checked with some of you, you still have are still discussing. So I give you another additional 15 minutes. Okay, so now at 10:15, I have actually given those group who has already done their discussion, like group 9, to go for your due break for 15 minutes. So now is 10:26. So by right, your break time will be over at 10:30. I have already split you all up again to be back in this main room. So what I want you all to do is that just tidy up whatever answers you have, and then in about 2 minutes time, I'm going to discuss on this tutorial session. Okay? Okay, group 5, like I mentioned earlier, once I disband everything, right, when I break your group up again, you will, all the discussion in the chat will be wiped out. That's the reason why I asked you all to write down. Okay, now, Meng Yuan, if you have not saved the content, just make do whatever you remember I've written down on a piece of paper. Please do. And those members in group 5, yes, I know you did in a private chat. So if let's say you did a private chat, that is fine. If you have saved the content, all right. So those in group 5 as well, if let's say you have any contribution when whoever is presenting, then we please do share together, okay? Okay, I have Luo Haocheng. Luo Haocheng, which group are you from? Okay, group 4, great. Okay, now in a short while I will, or are you all ready to discuss now? Because I realize that there are still some people who are not back yet. Yes, yes, yes. Hao Chen, you're right. I want the answer, but this is to discuss with the rest of the group. So you want to type it here or write on the whiteboard later, because I'm going to discuss question by question. I know you have written down, but what I'm going to do is like how we do in a class setting. I'm going to discuss on question 3-14 first. Then after, with all the group sharing your ideas, then I'll go to 3-15 and finally to 3-17. Okay? Okay, I guess some of you are already doing up the question and posting it here. So let me just consolidate, or anybody who, okay, now let's look at question 3-14 first. And let's do it in a more spontaneous way. Those who have already typed in your question in the chat, that's fine, that's good. I am reading your answer, and I will give my comment later, as well as we will discuss it as class, okay? So now, you have read the case. The case has the culture between Nomura and layman, okay? The culture difference between Nomura and layman. What is the obvious culture that you see in this? So let's see, okay, let's see. I have seen a few. Okay, now, Luo Haoquan's group, they say for Nomura, they treated the woman by having them taught how to wear their hair, pour tea, choosing clothes according to the season. But Lehman, or they call pronounced as Lehman Brothers. Okay, Lehman was not. Okay, this is one group. Now, the other group that written their answer was from Peng Yao. You're saying that work environment culture, tension over executive compensation, how quickly decisions were made, like treatment of women in the workplace, and the process of getting approval on deal was slower and more difficult than before. Men and women separated, okay, strictly dress code. Previous clients were categorized according to their, okay, now, so I suppose the top few lines is talking about Nomura. The last sentence, like client were categorized according to the pay, is basically talking about Lehman or the Lehman Brothers, the bankers. Am I right? So basically, if let's say we want to strictly talk about this question, it is obvious that for the bankers or for the Lehman bankers, they are looking into more what we call, in a way, more social class. You know what I mean? That's why they say clients were categorized by the fee they pay. So, of course, in Nomura, they are talking more on certain characteristics that is have. Okay, if let's say you have the textbook, okay, you can look at page 97. All right, and there are some types of diversity that is found in workplace, or either doesn't matter if you're not at the page. So basically, right, diversity in terms of this question, it also talks about gender. Okay, it's quite obvious that there is a gender, so-called a gender gap in a way. So it's like women are supposed to perform or bring out the certain modesty or the way they dress, they work. Okay, okay. Let me see. Somebody's posting. Okay, Sing Swapnel is saying that we can see from many culture, like okay, initial training for new workers. Okay, men and women separated. Okay, so this part already demonstrated, like in terms of gender, they already separated the gender. So we're taught how to choose clothes for job according to season. Company code was strictly interpreted for women. Okay, let me just see. Okay, several women were sent home to change their clothes. The dress code is displayed on the intranet and internet. Exist treatment. Yes, correct. So basically, right, as you can see, Numora, although I mean in a way, whether the women are educated or not, they are in fact taught in a way to dress up how they served, irregardless of their education. Okay, they are more towards what we call a gender diversity. Okay, that's why you see here they never even talk about training of the male, but just the female itself. Okay. So, but for the layman bankers, right, I will say that this diversity, right, it talks more on a social class, okay, on a social class. That is why, right, they will have a segregation or difference when it comes to serving certain client faster or slower, dependent, of course, on other factors which they didn't really write, but categorized as in like by the fees they pay. So they are more on like, okay, whoever can pay more, we will probably serve them faster or better. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at the second one. What global attitude? Okay, before I carry on, anybody has any um other explanation or other opinion that they want to share? I'm using this case study today is because this is a very relevant case, especially in today's context where everything is going global. So we will be meeting people or working in different workforce. This is to reiterate where we talk about like the changing environment, and we also talk about cultural differences, because culture is always one thing which will in a way will be there. We cannot omit that culture will not be there. Okay, so cultural aspects is something which we need to be careful, because in certain country it is just a more, just like in Singapore as well. We just talk about very very simple, like Chinese, we have our own culture. Indian also have their own culture. Malay, they'll have their own culture as well. Okay, then just to share a bit, like for the Malays, right, their modesty is like we have to respect the ladies, if let's say men. And my understanding from some of my Malay friends is that to we don't, for the male, we don't really shake their hands, but we do some gesture when they like a greeting kind of gesture. So this is very good. It's their culture, is how they bring forth their so-called cultural aspects. Okay, different from people who are in maybe in the West, like US. They come, their way of saying hello is that they hug each other. So this is their way, their culture. So it become like there's a cultural difference. Okay, nothing wrong or right about all this. Is basically a culture that has been adopted in their country, in their lifestyle, or when they are growing up. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at 3-15. Okay, so 3-15, we are talking about, okay, let me just, we're talking about what attitude do you think categorize Nomura? Be specific in your description. Do you see any evidence of that changing? Okay, let's just see some of the answers that are being shared. Okay, let's go up to the first group that shared. Okay, so Hao Chen's group for 3-15 is saying that Nomura has an ethnocentric attitude. Okay, so just to explain to some students who know what is ethnocentric. Ethnocentric basically means believing in their own ethnic group, that this is the best way to do things. Okay, so let's continue. Because Nomura believe its own ethnic are the best choice to run foreign operation, giving priority to its own people. Okay. Okay, let's just move on to the next group who wrote, Nomura adopt ethnocentric. They believe their own people are the best choice to run foreign operation, and that the best choice around foreign and the practice of Tokyo HQ. Progressively moving to Geocentric, okay, promoting a mixture of nationality to their high-ranking position. Okay, okay. For I won't say how Chen's answer is wrong, but Yaro one is the more full bloom one. Okay, So because of course, in terms of global attitude, probably Nomura does not understand the fact that different culture has a different kind of attitude. So initially, when Nomura so-called make their way of operation to bring forward, to transfer the way they do their operation to another foreign country, they feel that it can be run as how it has been run in their host country, which is not true. Okay, this is again another debatable way, unless it's like you see it is like we always talk about best practice. Okay, and remember we talk about transferable strategy, whether strategy can be transferable. Okay, now not all strategies can be transferred. Not all operation can be transferred. Not to say when it talks about the way people behave in a country. Okay, just like Uber. Understand from some people whom I know lah, who worked in Uber before. I know now it's no longer here. It's like because it has been moved from New Zealand. So the thing is that when they came here, their operation is great. Singaporeans, in fact, love it because early in the morning, right? Okay, this is, I'm not sure how true it is, but according to someone who worked there, in fact, morning they do have morning breakfast provided. And yes, it's not like just breakfast, but just it's a buffet. Okay, lunch they have buffet as well. So everybody's enjoying this kind of like culture that is being forth from the host. Okay, in fact, because Singapore we don't have this luxury, our company don't provide us with buffet during lunch, don't provide us with breakfast, and their breakfast is bagels. Okay, so these are the things that when they move over here, of course, it's like from where you look at it, it become like a bonus for a lot of employees who are working for Uber in Singapore. They'll find that this is great, this is fantastic. Okay, but however the case, if the operation is the other way around, bring a way of operation to their country, they might feel like, wow, how come now there's no buffet lunch? There is nothing that is provided for us, in that sense. So when this case we talk about blending two culture, in a lot of in a lot of operation, in a lot of country, we just have to make sure that we adopt working style, working format, working condition. Okay, just like I did share with you about Australians. It's like they finish work about 5, after which they will be having their own happy hour, they have their own free time to do their things. But imagine Singapore working attitude is moved over there. They'll find that we are very considered very hard worker. You know what I'm trying to say? So these are the things that are happening. Okay, that's the reason why it is a very interesting thing and a must to know about the challenge when we blend two culture together. Okay, all right. Do I have any more answers from other groups? Okay, now participation marks will be taken into consideration. Okay, your participation. So tutorial doesn't mean that y'all will just discuss or don't discuss and disappear. All right, because we have your attendance on and we can, because when you type all the answers, I can see your complete and such. Anything more that other groups want to add on? Okay, now we have Kali Mula is saying that again is trying to be a global corporation, but they are ethnocentric and hence very parental in their approach. Okay, so because the managers see things through their own eyes and from their own perspective. Okay, this is very evident when it comes to the different treatment of women employees from, okay, correct. Women were supposed to learn how to dress and how to wear their hair, while none of these applied to the men. Okay, so apart from this example, the word technique and methods of decision risk taken are quite different. Okay, and Snell is saying that Japanese and American work culture, tension over executive compensation, how quickly decisions are made and treatment of women in workplace, the process of getting approval on deals was slower and more difficult. To go global, Nomura believes its own technique are the best choice to run for operation. Okay, all of the answers are almost the same, and you are on the right track. Just that again to emphasize, in terms of this case study, right, it can show in terms of gender difference. Okay, their folk is different, and of course on social class as well. The reason why even the men bankers, right, they categorize their client, although it didn't very specifically say in terms of social class, but from the case we can tell that when they like when they say about fees that they pay can already determine that they are looking into the whoever can pay me more will get the better product or speed or service, okay. Other than that, any other things that the other groups want to share? And another very striking statement from the case that can exert this on gender inequality is the part whereby they say Nomura's executive committee was all Japanese men. Okay, so this is also trying to tell us that it is a gender inequality. Okay, but for the information of all the students, just for the update, Japan has currently do a campaign encouraging women to come out and work. So they are trying to shift. There is this shift in terms of thoughts to bring female into the working environment. You will be able to find articles from anywhere. You can search on some web links or web page that Japan is doing that. Okay, so let's see if in future the inequality between gender will be more balanced. Okay, all right. Now, last question that you are supposed to do for this tutorial is 3-17. What could Nomura managers do to support, promote, and encourage cultural awareness among employees and explain? Okay, now I just received from Lee. Okay, let's read these for 3-7. By having employees themselves put some input into what they dislike to happen culturally. Okay, this is a good point. You can. They should allow employees to voice their opinion. Okay, voice their opinion about certain rules and maybe implement some leniency. Okay, now what Lee is trying to say, I do agree. And if you are operating in that country, you should seek some opinion from from the locals, how they work and manage in their own country itself. Okay, okay, there's plane flying around. Okay, sorry for the interruption. And therefore, it will be interesting to see how. Oh, somebody is rubbing my. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, now back to our answer for 3-17. So basically, right, back to Lee Ji um Piak. Okay, sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. But anyway, for it usually for locals, right, this is also a good way if let's say managers want to understand more on how the locals in the country work. Okay, to give their opinion and implement certain ways to encourage productivity, all those. All right. Jacqueline. Jacqueline's group commented that the Nomura manager can improve by changing the colleague to a trustworthy one in order for them. Okay, I think this is more on like a work attitude. Okay, it might because of certain issues or certain, I would say certain I won't say working attitude, but certain things or how they behave, the cultural aspects that create this. The managers can also make the colleague adapt to the original culture in Japan so that the company will also see its original culture side. Because the colleagues are not adapting to the Japanese culture in 2 years. Okay, I will say that you are not wrong, but because this question is asking like what could the manager do to support, promote, encourage? So your answer is more on like what has failed in the in the country in the management. So your answer is not correct because we are actually talking about how they could, what could be done to encourage the awareness. Okay, but what you have written, since you have written about them falling, this is in a way not as well because sometimes you must understand in terms of cultural aspect, it's very hard to just transit someone or transit a group of people who already embedded in their mind a kind of different culture into a new culture. Okay. It's just like ask yourself, you are, let's say, be it you are Chinese, Malay, Indian, Eurasian, whichever ethnic group, it will not be easy for yourself or even the group to change to another different kind of cultural aspects in a very short period of time. There must be a transition period whereby the acceptance is there. Okay. Okay, now Mark Nguyen say, I think the equality between men and women should be balanced. Okay, men and women should have the same standard, followed by solving the visible internal issue of executive compensation, decision making speed, and women's interests. I think the more important thing is to make up for the company cultural difference. Okay, all right. But like when we say make up for the company cultural difference, there must be a way to do it. Maybe have an event or internal gathering or internal like multicultural night. It can be done. I mean, it's like management is not something that is very dull, very plain. A lot of things we can bring in, have a new set of things out of the box. Even like Meng Yuan say, and like this question they're asking, how can they support, how can they promote, how can they encourage? Events can be done. Okay, events can be done, multicultural night, their culture, the locals' culture, some other cultures put together, have a fun event, knowing how other cultures behave. It is a lot of ways that people can do. Okay, so let's just continue. Okay, Stephanie's group say that they could make training or global citizenship. Okay, how this will allow the employees to learn how to deal with working in an increasingly diverse global economy and society. Okay. Okay, great. Now Stephanie also mentioned their group celebrate traditional holidays, festive and food. Yes, this is something which employees can be aware. Okay, be aware of of this. You know, then we talk about support and promote. It's just like somehow or other it's like, okay, when when we talk about support, it's like we will also make sure that during certain festive season, the group of people are recognize that that is their festive season, their holidays, their festive season, etc. Okay. Okay, let's see the rest of the group. Now this is Odelia. Okay, Odelia's group, they say managers should raise awareness of the importance of understanding cross-cultural difference. Training, okay. You can, of course, training, but sometimes, like I say, you can think out of the box. We can, in fact, make the training inculcate like an event, okay, so that it become like a fun thing rather than, okay, we are going to train you for understanding other people's culture. No, but maybe we can do in such a way that we will train, but yet in a fun way, like having events. Like just now, was it Stephanie's group that say about events? I think it is good as well. It's very interesting. Like and of course Lee who say that you understand them, give them, let the local voice out their opinion, like what are the do and don'ts. It's just like when you plan, just like why is it that there must be come to accommodation for certain action. It's just like example, initially I was telling you about we respect the Malay ladies' modesty. Men does not like if let's say they don't shake hand with you doesn't mean they are rude. It's just basically because they female towards male they use more gesture to say hello and blend into a culture like in the Western country whereby they hug each other. So if culture these two culture come together, then how? Okay, so this we have to come to accommodation to let each other understand. So like Lee say, they should understand and they should come to a compromise. Like maybe in future, when you meet people from from that ethnic group or whatever, you do not go and hug them. You know those kind of thing. And they will have when they understand, they will not ouch, not say outrage. I'm using too strong a word of outraging modesty, but like to cross over to the comfort zone. Okay, can understand this part? Okay, let's see if I have missed out any group which I have not said. Okay, great. So let's see if there's any other group. Okay, now I have seen maybe out of 20 groups, I have only probably less than 10 who has given me the answer. So for, okay, this group is Yaro's group, talking about building cultural knowledge and celebrate diversity. Okay, okay, this is talking about the same thing as in like recognition and cultural assumption. Okay, good. Okay, Kalun. I think it takes a long time for a person to change and adapt to the new culture, definitely. And it's not necessary, but company can respect different culture and diversity, so they have to raise awareness about different like making salary. Okay, okay. Definitely, we are not expecting individual to change. Okay, we are not expecting individual to change. Like I'm a Chinese. If let's say I cross to a company that is maybe Malay, Indian, or any other cultural group, or maybe Western, I don't have to change to become like that because underneath or the process, I'm still a Chinese. But when we talk about adaptation, okay, in terms of company, definitely the respect of culture and diversity has to be there. Just like we don't talk about just company, talk about country. Just like Singapore, we we embrace different cultural groups. Okay, that is why over here, no matter whether is it whichever culture, foreigners or whatever, we embrace everybody as one. We do not go out and say, oh, you're what ethnic group. No, we treat everybody as equal. There's no such thing as inequality. Okay, so therefore this question, definitely the way to encourage cultural awareness is having some events, okay, and understanding how they behave, and we don't assume, okay, we don't assume the way they do things. So because sometimes certain, like some cultural aspect or some ethnic groups, at certain hours they need to find a place to pray. Okay, that's good. So we have to understand and not like, oh, why do you have to pray at certain time? Because that is their cultural aspect or their ethnic group or their belief. Okay? Okay, good. Great. Okay, now I have discussed those questions that I've asked you all to discuss. Is there anything that you all want to add on before um before I close this session? Okay, now if there's no more question, I would just like to say a few things. Understand that this is the first tutorial that we are doing together on an online platform. Now, I will expect all of you to participate in the discussion when you are in your group. I know that the group can be a bit big, like as big as 7 or 8, but that is not the point. I will, because and for those, I will appreciate if, let's say, in future, if I group your start tutorial 2, if I group your in your group, let's say 10 minutes into the session, nobody is talking, nobody is discussing, please raise it to me. Okay, you can send a private chat. I will be able to see. Do not wait until 1 hour later when we are going to discuss. Then you tell me that the class is quiet, nobody is discussing. Okay? So for today's session, I will take it as let's improve on it in our next tutorial session. But nevertheless, we also managed uh, to actually fulfill our objective. We discussed the question on culture, which I like we have discussed. Okay. Any question? Any question? Okay, great. Anyway, participation marks will be given. So I will actually consolidate over my end. So please participate. Those that did not participate this tutorial, please participate in the next tutorial. I'm fine with you all just typing on the chat. Okay, I believe you are very comfortable even typing the answers in the chat. In fact, I wanted to I wanted one representative from each group to present, or I will select a few groups to present because there's 20 groups. There's too big a group. But however, it's like but for this session, right? Maybe we can do it next session. So I'm fine with your typing the answer because I can narrate out your answers and I share it in the class as well and give my own opinion. Okay? When you type in the chat, all the groups you can just type in the answer. I'm fine with that. Then I will go through each one of them. We'll go through question after question and then we'll share with the whole class. I believe that at the end of the day, our answers will be very concise as well. All right. Okay. Any question? Any question before I end this session? Okay. For this, I will end the session here, but the chat is still open for anybody who want to ask me on anything pertaining to tutorial. And oh yeah, by the way, before next tutorial session, I will I will I will send in a message the case or the questions that I'll be discussing during tutorial. So if all are fine, please get your ebook ready because I will be what I'll do is that I'll be using questions and cases from your textbook. This is for the convenience of all as well as because the book is good enough for questions that we can discuss. Okay? All right. Okay, by the way, I will be, once the dates are confirmed, probably by this week, I will be sending a message to all regarding the dates for quiz test 1 and 2. Okay? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, Hao Chen, like I mentioned earlier, by this week, once the dates are firm up, then I will send a message to all. Okay, and you can find the quiz, it will be open in Blackboard. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay, if no more buddy want to give their anything regarding the questions about this tutorial case application study, I will stop the recording now, but you can still key in your question in the chat. All right. Okay. Okay, thank you, class, and I'll see you in the next session.